All right, so, Joe.
Anna.
Another episode of High Points Voices Discovered. I'm so excited about this episode. I mean, I love everything that the art gallery at Congdon Yards, TAG, is doing.
You got the name right.
I did, I know. For those who maybe don't know,
it's the old theater art galleries.
The old theater art galleries. I want to ask, I should have asked Jeff, was that just happenstance, good coincidence that they were able to pivot on the name and
creative thinking?
Exactly. Yes. Would expect nothing less from the folks at TAG.
That's right.
So yeah, we had a great conversation with Executive Director Jeff Horney about TAG and their new space.
Yeah, it's an incredible space. And, you know, my wife is an art history major.
Oh.
So I learned a lot of art history from her. But really what I love about this episode is Jeff.
Yeah.
Like, that's what drew me into TAG and why I started getting involved in TAG. Like, the art is beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's the community of people that Jeff has cultivated.
Yeah.
Even more than being a connoisseur of art, I think he is a real cultivator of community. And he has brought incredible people in to his board, to his events. Like, you start talking to Jeff and you just... like, give me more, Jeff. Like, I want to hear the passion, why he does what he does. Like, that's what I think is great about this podcast. Getting to listen to him. Getting to listen to all the people we get to interview.
I agree. I mean, and so much accessibility that they're offering to the arts, right? Like, art can be one of those things that feels very gate kept and very, you know, you have to be an artist to appreciate it, or you have to have some sort of, you know, pre-qualification. That's so not the experience that TAG offers.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for everyone to be able to experience TAG in the capacity of being downtown. I mean, that's really a huge part of, I think, what our guests shared last week, Julie Hill and Rachel Collins, about what the space of Congdon Yards is doing. And I think TAG is such a natural extension of that, that they have this space, and now we have art centralized in downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, plus you're an Enneagram 4, so like...
yeah.
Art is your thing, right?
Yeah. The first day that TAG was open... I was walking into my, because it's in the bottom level, basically, of where both of our offices are.
Our offices are right over TAG.
So I remember I walked in and I was talking to Teresa and walking through the space, and I walked out and I had this like very Enneagram 4 moment where I just stood there and I teared up a little bit and I texted my boyfriend and I was like, I get to walk past an art gallery every day on my way to work. That's my dream come true. Like, to be able to take a lunch break and just like be in the art gallery space. So exciting. And I think it's something that even people who aren't Enneagram 4s are going to really appreciate about arts community in High Point.
For all the non-Enneagram people who are listening, at some point we'll have to do a whole podcast on Enneagram.
We'll just do a separate podcast.
It will be the Enneagrams of High Point. And we
Ooh.
will go find Enneagrams for...
Joe, don't tempt me with a good time.
I
want to do the Enneagrams of High Point now.
I know, I'm telling you. But, I mean, that's having that space, as you'll hear, is transforming our community.
Absolutely.
We are a community of creatives. We are a community of creators. And we've got to have the arts. Like, that is just critical to a vibrant community. And nobody tells that story better than Jeff.
Absolutely. Excited to listen.
Yep. Hey, Jeff. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Thanks so much for being here with us on High Point's Voices Discovered. We're so excited to learn more about TAG and about you and about the arts community in High Point. So can we get started by you just introducing yourself to our listeners and tell us a little bit about how long you've been in High Point and how you're involved in the High Point community today?
Yeah, so I'm a High Point native. Went through public schools here, then went to Chapel Hill for college. Was away briefly, swore I would never come back to High Point. And sure enough, I came back. I started out actually in television, worked at Channel 8 for 3.5 years, and then ended up in the family business. So that's what really kept me in High Point. So as a High Point native, I have seen a lot of changes in my lifetime, and ups and downs. And I'm happy to say that we are really on an upswing, and a lot of things are coming together, taking root. So it's an exciting time to be in High Point. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So when did you come into TAG?
Next week it'll be 11 years. I had retired from a family business, and for about 6 months it was great. No pressure, good. But then, I sort of got depressed. It was, I was too young to not do anything. So TAG was at a point of a lot of transition. And so it was an opportunity that was presented to me that really was a win-win. It was great for me. It's been great for TAG. 11 years.
Can you talk a little bit about what your background is? Were you involved in arts? What has your background in the creative arts been that led you to, lead such an arts effort in High Point?
Yeah, I'm just an appreciator. I'm not an artist myself. I was involved in a family business that was design oriented. We designed and manufactured advertising displays and merchandising aids for consumer goods manufacturers. So I had an art department. In my job, I was working with design teams and making sales pitches. And so I was in that arena and very visually oriented. And my wife and I love to collect art. We started actually at the TAG galas back when we were a lot younger. That's kind of how we got, every year we go to TAG gala and we buy a painting or two. And that's how we began to collect. And since then we've had a good time on our travels out and about collecting. And so I'm an appreciator, not trained in art, but certainly appreciate it and have tried to bring a business sense to what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, you've got a good eye. You always have great stuff here. I mean, when I first got to know TAG, it was theater art galleries. I think that's probably what a lot of people who've heard of TAG still associate with theater art galleries. Tell me a little bit about the origin of TAG, the mission, where it came from, what spouted it. And we're going to get to all the transformation that's been going on recently, but give us a little bit of the backstory about where it came from and why you took the job to begin with.
So it goes back to 1975 when the new furniture showroom building was built on Commerce Street. Prior to that, that block had City Block and the Paramount Movie Theater, where I used to attend movies when I was little growing up, and the fire station. And that block had been there for many years. The theater had gone out of business, and so the city had actually passed a bond referendum to upfit the Paramount Theater into a municipal facility. And that was on track to happen, and the powers that be with the market needed more showroom space, so they worked to deal with the city to build this 11, 12-story building that would include a theater and gallery space on the first floor in exchange for having the rights to build the building. So that was 1975. The galleries were originally programmed by the High Point Arts Council. And then in 1992, TAG became an independent 501c3, really a grassroots organization. It was not part of the theater. It wasn't part of the Arts Council. It wasn't part of the city, although we do get a grant every year from the city for about 10% of our budget. But really a grassroots organization, and which has really served us well. We've had a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility in how we operate and how we program. We're a very nimble little organization, just 3 of us on staff. So we were, we were in the High Point Theater until February of this year.
Can you just kind of give us a soundbite summary of the mission of TAG and what, from that nonprofit 501c3 lens, you want to do in the High Point community?
Sure. So we really have 2 arms, exhibits and education. In our gallery space, we have exhibits for professional artists, typically from North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, that sort of a region. Although we have had group shows and call to artists where we've had art from all over the country and even as far away as Switzerland.
Wow.
But that involves a lot of shipping and it gets very complicated. So it's a lot simpler for us to and there's plenty to draw from in this region. We also, in terms of exhibit, do student exhibitions, and we can talk about that a little bit more. And then education. We heretofore in the theater with limited space, most of our outreach was in the community. We work with the Boys and Girls Clubs at several of their locations, some of the public schools. We have art clubs at Northwood and some other schools after school. And then we do adult classes and workshops and things through the year. So really exhibits and education are two focuses.
Well, and that, I mean, those focuses have, let's say, exploded in this new space. So you've now rebranded as the Art Gallery at Congdon Yards.
The one and only.
I know. Like, say a little bit about the transformation.
With our move, and I can talk about that. With our move here to Congdon Yards, we felt like being tagged Theater Art Galleries since 1975, we had a lot of equity in that.
Yeah.
So when it came to moving, we didn't want to lose tags, so we just changed the theater to the and added at Congdon Yards as a tagline to be used as needed. So we're still tagged, but now the Art Gallery at Congdon Yards.
So in the previous space, was there kind of this, we're in one of the classroom studio development spaces, and there's how many in this space? 3?
So we had 3 separate galleries there, and an additional hallway gallery. So we had the space was split up in smaller chunks.
But was there this level of, I guess, like classroom workable space?
No,
so what's that been like? I mean, how is that changing kind of that programming direction, just having all of this beautiful space to work in?
Well, it's a real game changer, and that was one of the things that we really looked at when we talked about moving. It really began about 4 years ago when things began to kind of start percolating over at Congdon Yards, and the plan kept changing, the players kept changing, and I would kind of stay close to whoever was in charge at the time. So, keep our name front and center and in the loop. And it was really once we were far enough along and the Congdons got involved and things really grew. We went to the Congdon Family Foundation and shared our vision with them about what we wanted to do and what we thought we could bring, to the equation here. And they bought in and supported us to an extent that we were able to make that transition from the theater to here. So we have 11,000 feet. Gallery space, half of it, and then the other half, we have 3 classrooms, and student exhibition space, and our hands-on studio where kids can come and have self-directed activities. So in terms of programming, it's night and day. So we began in February putting out some classes for adults and kids and trying to, test the waters to see what people wanted, what the demand was. And so we're wrapping up summer camps here, and that's been wonderful. 9 weeks of happy little voices coming and going every day. And we're looking forward to coming out with a really structured, thorough set of classes that we can put out. So we really want to know what the community wants, because, as I said, we're a nimble organization, and the classes are structured so that we contract with teachers, instructors, artists to come in and conduct these classes on a per class or per series of classes basis. So we can do anything we want to do. So we've got a tiger by the tail, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember talking to Megan Oglesby about your all's move into this space. And so you occupy this first floor of the factory building, which on one side is underground, right? So there aren't windows, and it's like, well, what do you do? What fits in this kind of space? You don't want an office down here. It's just, it's not ideal for a big office space. But for a place where you need to control lighting, like an art gallery, it could be a really good space. And then, part of it was thinking about this whole campus and the downtown development and what are the pieces that you have to have in a vibrant kind of downtown community. And one of the big ones that wasn't here was the arts. And that, I mean, I think that's the gift and the energy that you all bring in. I mean, we were just over listening to High Point talk about its new brand, right? The city has put all this time in doing year of research, thinking about its brand. And it's like, we are a city of makers. We're a creative city. We are the design center city. So we've got to have the arts like front and center. Like, that's who we are. We have all these creatives. And I wonder if you just say a little bit about like your, I know you've got a pitch on the importance of the arts to community. I know that one comes out quick. I think, like, give us the pitch. Like, why is it so important for this downtown development, for this city, to have the arts like right here in the heart of it all?
Yeah. And if you look around any community that's having success with revitalization, there's a strong arts component.
Yeah.
I mean, public art has a big role to play in that. And we have been a partner with other agencies and groups in trying to get public art. The kinetic sculptures that are in the Market District, you're seeing more and more murals. And I think with public art, when you drive into a city and you see public art, whether it's sculptures or murals, it just sends a signal there's something going on. It brings a vitality with it. In terms of economic development, you've just got to have it. Can you imagine having success without the arts? And quality of life is essential. I mean, we all want the richness that the arts bring, whether it's music or art or theater. I mean, it just brings such a vitality to the community. I've got 2 grown daughters, and when they were younger, we took them everywhere, to expose them to music and art and theater and that sort of thing. And now they're grown with children, and they're replicating what we did. They're enjoying the same kinds of things. It just brings a fullness of life. And so when you talk about people moving to a community, those are one of the things that look like. Education, of course, is key, and there are issues there that need to be addressed. But the arts are an important part of it. I look at my girls and I'm thinking, well, maybe, we have these conversations. If things continue to move in that direction, maybe this would be a place that they would come back to. My younger daughter went to Wofford, and so she's been out about 10 years, and we watched Spartanburg.
Oh, yeah.
And all these things they were doing 10 years ago, planting seeds that are coming to fruition. And now 10 years later, when we go to visit, because she lives there now, we can see what has really taken root. And so the same thing here. I feel like High Point's a little bit of a faster track. I mean, there's a lot of intentional effort being made to enhance quality of life, and I just think the arts have such a big role to play. And so we think that we're a key player in that, not only in the Congdon Yards complex and the Catalyst project and the social district, but the city as a whole. And I think, it's always a challenge to bring in more than just the city center. We want North High Point to feel a part of High Point. And so what can we do here that's unique that will draw them here to High Point Center rather than going to Greensboro or Winston or something like that?
I mean, I just think of some of the events that you've had here, your grand opening, your gala, just the vibrance of the number of people that get drawn into this space. And then, my daughter has taken one of the summer classes already. She signed up for next week's class as well.
Good.
Loves coming in. And when I've walked the kids through, you always have in this back art gallery youth art. You have middle school, high school art. And every time we've come through, we've seen the art of one of the kids that our kids know.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cool when they see, like, oh my gosh, my friend's art's up on the wall.
And that's an important part of our mission, is being inclusive of all ages in what we do. So in our new space here, we have a wonderful gallery that allows us to do a good job of presenting a lot of art. We will rotate through the year. We'll do a elementary school show, a middle school show, a high school show. Coming up, we have an Artists Who Teach, which is an art teachers show coming up.
That's awesome.
But the kids, when we did our elementary school, I think we have about 18 schools participating in that. So these kids come, they bring their parents, their grandparents, and siblings. They're taking pictures. They may have just one piece in the show with, a whole gallery full, but they are excited and proud. And so I think that early exposure is so key in developing a love for the arts.
I was going to say, the benefits of being involved in arts, especially from a young age, are huge, right? Like there's so much psychological impact, and there's all kinds of different mental health benefits and self-expression and self-confidence. And even just you mentioning parents and grandparents coming through. What a huge recruitment retention effort for people who have families who maybe want to relocate to High Point, to know that there are these opportunities. In thinking about that new brand that the city has really started working through, one of the big things that we talk a lot about is inspiring creative. That doesn't mean that you have to be a typical visual artist who, creates something with pen and paper, paint and paper. What would you say to someone who maybe would say, I'm not creative, I don't need to be involved in the arts?
I'll be that someone. Jeff, I'm not creative. You do not want me drawing anything.
But you're putting judgment on what the end product is. It's all about the process. And we have all skill levels that participate in our classes. And every class has got a couple of star students, but everybody who participates, it's about the process. It's an opportunity to be creative, to express themselves, to relax, just to get away. And you're not necessarily going to produce a painting that you're going to put on your wall. You might, but it's all about the process, and certainly for those who have some talent to progress and move forward.
I love that. I love the ownership that we can all take in being creative in the city, even if it's not through the typical means or some kind of finished product. Just that opportunity to kind of use a side of our brain that we don't always like. That does enhance our community. It does enhance what we have to offer. So, and
for adults, it often gets kind of squashed out of you as you come through life, and so it's an opportunity to kind of re-explore your creative side, and
I love that.
As an adult, yeah.
I'm just thinking about some of the shows that you've had in the main gallery space, and I feel like I can appreciate and see like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Like I could never create that sort of thing, but it is inspiring to see what people can create and the number of artists that are in our community. Because you bring a number of local artists and people that I know, and I didn't realize they had these gifts.
People love to see their friends and neighbors participate. When we do our annual fundraising gala every May, we have usually about 60 artists participate in that, all levels. A lot of local people who are varying degrees of talent, and then in addition to some really professional artists. But in our exhibits, we try to have a wide variety of what we present. And we are very intentional about being more than just paintings on the wall. Sometimes that's what we have, and that's a great thing. But we have been intentional about doing other things, trying to tie in with our design community. Not only here in High Point, but on a bigger scale. High Point, as you said, is so full of creatives, and so we need to tap into that and support that. We've done several collaborative efforts with the International Society of Furniture Designers. The first exhibit we did was an exhibit of 22 iconic chairs that were selected for the exhibit, and then each chair was taken by a professional photographer from Alderman's and photographed in a unique setting. Out in the woods, on a rooftop, all over. And those photographs were enlarged and displayed with the pieces of furniture in the gallery, which was a very interesting, fun exhibit. And then we did it again with tables. And we've also worked with them in exhibiting their makers competition, innovation and design, which we have done a couple of times here. And so you've got these makers. Some are professionals, some are students, and they design and make the work, and they are works of art, really incredible.
Yeah, that I mean, that innovation and design competition that happened during the spring market. I mean, I remember walking in and seeing,
Oh my gosh, it was incredible.
just these incredible pieces of furniture. I didn't realize they were students that were designing them and thinking, and these are students all over the country.
Yeah.
So some of them, I'm thinking the shipping on this must be outrageous.
Of course.
To get these things here, because you had big tables and chairs and lamps that were just, I mean, so creative in their design. And I was talking with David Blair, who was saying that some of the students have shown art here, been noticed by industry, and been hired locally by companies that are here in High Point. And so he was talking about it as a way of attracting young professionals into our community because this is the place that they got noticed.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was such a cool connection between the kind of creative furniture industry and then what you're doing here at TAG.
And we see that as a part of our mission, to have a broad base of types of things that we can exhibit. One of my favorite exhibits that we did, also design related, was with Paul Taswell. Paul is a costume designer, lives in New York, and he did the costumes for Hamilton, won a Tony Award for that.
Right.
Wow.
He did the costumes for The Wiz on TV, won an Emmy Award for that. He was nominated for an Oscar for West Side Story, the Steven Spielberg remake that was done a couple of years ago. And his mother lives, this came through Pat Plaxico, if you remember Pat.
Oh, yeah.
His mother lives in Asheboro, and she's fabulous. She illustrates some children's books. So we went to her and said, we would love for you to do an exhibit, of your artwork. And do you think Paul might, do a little something here? She said, oh, yeah, Paul will, he'll do something. So we thought we might have a costume or two or an original design drawing. I'm not sure. Well, the next thing I knew, we got word that we were receiving 15 costumes shipped down from New York. So we had 5 costumes from Hamilton, 3 costumes from The Wiz, 2 costumes from Jesus Christ Superstar when it was live on TV and Showboat. So we had 15 costumes. He actually sent someone down to set it up in the gallery. So we had Paul in the main gallery, and we had his mom upstairs. So, reaching out beyond the norm is really what makes the job interesting. Another exhibit we did that was great fun because of the interest in public art and murals, we identified about 25 blank walls in High Point that could accommodate a mural. And so we put them out there, put the word out there, and got mural artists from all over the region to participate. So we gave them a picture of a wall. They designed something. And so we, photoshopped them all together, blew them up poster size, and then exhibited that. And it just got a lot of interest in what could be. So I think part of what we want to do is just open people's eyes to what could be. Let's help people imagine and think broadly and think differently and outside the box. And I think that's, it's essential to what we're about and to what the city wants us to do.
Yeah, I mean, exercising that muscle of being able to have some vision of seeing what's not yet there.
Right.
I mean, when we're talking about revitalizing a city and transforming spaces, it takes a lot of that creative vision, whether, and if art can help to unlock that for us, because I think for most of us in our day-to-day that we're not trained to think that way, right?
Yeah, we're not trained to see those blank canvases as opportunity, I guess, like some artists are.
Yeah.
You mentioned, I lost count, 5 or 6 different media in just the galleries and exhibitions that you've done recently. What are some of those opportunities class-wise for people coming in? What are some of those different media that they can work within and learn about?
Yeah, well, you name it, we can do it. We're doing acrylics, oils, drawing, printmaking, collage, and exciting thing coming is our clay studio.
Talk about that.
Which we are sitting in right now. We have actually, it was very much in the plan when we did our when we did our plan here, we are wired for 3 kilns, and we're vented to accommodate all of that. So we are in the process now of ordering kilns and wheels and
That's awesome.
all the equipment that goes into a clay studio. And I think there's a lot of interest in that.
Yeah.
There's really not a facility like this in High Point to do that. So it's probably the thing we get as many questions about as any is, when's it coming? I want to get my hands into the clay.
I've looked for a studio around here because I did some ceramics in college, and that's one of those things where if you don't have the space and you don't have the budget, it's going to be a really hard hobby for you to pursue without a space like this. I love the accessibility that this space is providing to dabble in arts that could be kind of have a high threshold to entry from a price point.
But I think in terms of skill and talent, it's an easy entry.
Right.
Because, we'll do hand building classes.
Okay.
And we'll do classes with wheels where you're really,
So
so there'll be an entry level for anyone who wants to participate. And so we're excited to get that going. That'll be for kids and adults. We want to continue to grow our classes and our offerings and to see what the market will bear. We want to bring more people here. We want to continue our outreach in the community, of course, but we want to, bring more people in our doors. So we're doing everything we can just to have events and opportunities for people to come in. And we want to collaborate, with a small organization like ours. The more we can collaborate, the better.
Yeah.
We want to be good community partners in that regard. We've got the ARC fundraiser, which we've been hosting for years, will be here with us this year in November, and that's great. They bring their artists and have a great fundraiser every year.
Can you talk a little bit more about your partnership with the ARC? Because another one of the brand values that we're so excited about promoting in the city is that kindness and inclusivity. So can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the partnerships at TAG or with other organizations that kind of foster that spirit of kindness and inclusivity in the arts in High Point?
Yeah. So our probably longest ongoing relationship is with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater High Point. And we have done after school classes. This summer, we've done 4 weeks of summer camps, 1 week each location. And we have collaborated with the Millis Regional Health Center with our local hospital. We do field trips. They bring in a lot of field trips, and we have some curriculum-based activities that we do on a regular, ongoing basis. For example, if they're studying the skeleton and the bone structure, we'll go in with the kids and make clay bones and that sort of thing.
Awesome.
So it's something that's tangible, something relating to what they're doing there. And we've worked through communities and schools and some after-school art clubs at Northwood and some other schools. As I said, the fundraiser with the ARC, we always participate in Uptown Holiday Stroll. And we did a Harvest Fest at the library for Open Door, I think. So we're very much
it's a long list.
We're trying to, we want to be a good community partner. There's a group that's meeting now on a monthly basis of all the merchants out and around High Point, including Uptown High Point and all around this district here, trying to figure out how do we work together, how do we promote each other, how do we collaborate. And so, I mean, there's just this synergy right now. There's a lot of new stuff going on, and we're all in the same boat. And how do we, if you have an event here, how do we connect and get people from your place to ours? And so, they're starting social Saturdays, and we have the social district. And so there are a lot of opportunities for new collaborations, and we are wide open to whatever that might look like.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest changes we've seen in High Point is just that sense of collaboration that, the space itself fosters that, right? You finally have this kind of critical mass of people that are downtown and uptown. They're getting connected. And now it's like, all right, how do we how do we take this thing that has started and really double down and grow
Yeah,
it?
and as a High Point native, I've seen the ups and downs and the false starts. Dewani came in and everybody got all excited and it kind of fizzled, but it planted a lot of seeds, and all those seeds are really taking root now. And it's a unique time from my vantage point of being here a long time and seeing these collaborations and all this new activity going on. I mean, it's really exciting.
I mean, we've had Rachel Collins and Julie Hill on the show, and they speak to the idea that we have all of these players from a business perspective and from a private, public, philanthropic sector kind of coming together. But it feels like even beyond that, we have all of these players at the table from business and arts and education, like all those pieces that make a community successful. And so many of them are housed right here in this building. And so I think it's a neat time to be able to kind of be part of it.
It's a big part of why we wanted to be here, to be in a location with higher visibility, easy access, right by the stadium, right by the food hall,
right by Earl's Landing.
So everything. This is kind of, things are happening the way the city intended with the Catalyst project. You build the stadium. It's not really about baseball.
Right.
It's about all this other stuff that takes place. Baseball's doing great.
Yeah.
Soccer's coming on strong, so that's an addition. But everything's growing, apartments, a hotel, some more parking. It's all, so you come back in 5 years, it's going to be dramatically different. So I think the groundwork for everybody to, work together has really been laid.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, the podcast is High Point's Voices Discovered, and that's really what both High Point Discovered and the Congdon Family Foundation wants to do, is elevate those voices of people like yourself doing such good work in High Point to make it better and to build that revitalization and community effort. So we love to ask our guests, whose voice in High Point do you think people should hear more of?
Great question. I have two answers. One is personal, one's kind of more general. I would love to hear what my father would have to say about this. My father had a long and healthy life till almost 102. He died about 5 years ago, but he was a big proponent of High Point, loved High Point, and just a big advocate of everything going on. And I would love to hear his perspective of how he would see everything. He would be so excited and happy and cheering everybody on.
He was such a big mentor to so many of the people who made this work happen. That's incredible.
But in a more general term, I think we really need to hear from the up and comers. I'm on that end of my career. We need to hear from the people in their 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the up and coming leaders. And it's what I tell my younger board members all the time. If you want TAG to be successful, if this is a value to you, you have to take ownership. And so it's not just for TAG, it's for everything in the city. The younger generations have to take the ball and run with it. And we need the voices of diversity included in all that. And it's one thing I love about this whole complex, and what I see and with our audience is much more diversity. It's so healthy, and it's such a great thing for the community that everybody has, the opportunity to express themselves and be a part and involved. So really, I'm not sure who the leaders are. I mean, we have a lot of great involvement.
Yeah.
And we just need to foster that. We need to be mentors, and we need to encourage and encourage them to take ownership of what we have, because this, we're all just trustees. We're stewards of what we have here, and we just pass it on. So we need to encourage that kind of ownership, I think.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that sense of responsibility to our community, right? That it takes all of us kind of pulling in the same direction to make this stuff happen. And just thankful that you took some time to talk to us and tell us a little bit about TAG, because it's such a great space and such a great mission. And you see so many people from kind of all walks of life coming in here and exercising their creative brain, and then they go out and they help us think creatively as a community about how
we're
we can do
thrilled
our
to
work
be
together.
here, and want to encourage everyone to participate and get involved. And we have a brand new website that hopefully will continue to inform the community with everything that's currently going on.
That's great. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Well, that was good stuff.
Yeah.
I told you I love talking to Jeff and hearing his story and hearing his passion. And that space, like, you've got to come experience the space. Like, that's where the magic is happening. Like, we've encouraged people before to come to the Commons and get a cup of coffee at Lil's, and then step outside, turn to your left, walk through the glass doors, and you'll be at TAG. And you just got to experience it. And the shows are changing all the time. I love the space. And their website, newly redesigned, is a place where you can go sign up for classes, see what classes are happening. And I know we're a little ways from summer, but their summer camps are awesome. My daughter is a big fan of TAG summer camps.
Oh,
yes. We have her whole dresser is covered in the creations of TAG summer camps past.
That inspiring creatives at a young age in High Point.
That's right.
Love that. Well, thank you, Joe, for being here
And
today.
you, Hannah.
Thank you to Jeff Horney for speaking with us on all the magic happening at TAG. And thank you, as always, to our producers at Captivate Media. We are so excited to keep the fun rolling. So thank you to our listeners. Don't forget to subscribe to High Point Discovered on all platforms to get more. And in the meantime, get ready to hear more voices discovered in High Point.